most theme parks have alcohol sales in them. There are definite exceptions like Silver Dollar City and Dollywood, and in up until recently, Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. But most theme parks do sell alcohol, and it definitely causes some issues in the parks. Sometimes funny, sometimes not so much. Okay, I know that there's a few of you right off the bat that are going, oh, he doesn't like alcohol sales because he's a preacher. Okay, and I admit I don't drink, but I don't necessarily hold that against other people. I understand, and it's not why I have issues sometimes with people drinking in parks. No, the reason that I have issues sometimes is because of the number of people who can't limit what they drink, how much they drink, and can't hold it well. And as you'll see as I go through why that is. When they've been having a little bit too much, it begins to cause problems. And when you're the employee and cast member having to deal with those people, and it's obvious why they are in the condition the way they are, it makes it hard sometimes. We used to have issues on a regular basis at Busch Gardens when I worked there. At the time, Busch Gardens was owned by Anheuser-Busch, the company that owns Budweiser and other beers and alcohol. Hence, Busch Gardens, that's where it came from. One of the things that they did was they actually had a beer tasting garden, and they would give everybody who came in the park who wanted it over a certain age a couple of free drinks. And then, of course, you could buy beer all around the park, and most people were okay, but there were definitely those that just couldn't handle the fact that there was booze around. And over time at Rhino Rally, it began to become a problem. We would get a small handful of them, and at the end of the day, they'd been sampling a bit too much. Somebody that was sloshed was not somebody you wanted on a Land Rover out in the middle of all these wild animals. It's not a good thing. By the time I started working at Busch Gardens, we actually had a pretty low tolerance for people who had been drinking too much, as far as letting them on the ride, because there had definitely been issues in the past with people trying to get out of the Land Rover or causing a ruckus or throwing things at the animals and things like that. Not a good deal. So we had a low tolerance for allowing people that had been drinking on the ride. If we could tell you've been drinking, you'd probably been drinking too much. And I had heard the stories in the past about people undoing their seatbelts and trying to jump out of the Land Rover and causing things like that. So by the time I got there, it wasn't too much of an issue because we cut it in line. But I did have one time. I had one guy on my Land Rover that, I don't know, he was just out to lunch. He thought we were actually in Africa. He was trying to tell me how to drive. He's sitting in the second or third row. He's not my navigator. But he's saying, let's go over and see the lions. Okay, dude, we're not going to go see lions in the Land Rover. Not going to happen. Can I pet the rhino? No. The rhino's not going to come over here because I'm not going to call him by name. And you're not supposed to touch him. He was gone. It was actually quite amusing when we hit the water portion and the bridge breaks away and we start floating and he starts freaking out. I mean, big time. We're gonna die! His friend next to him was actually holding him down. I don't know how he got through the line, honestly, and got onto the ride, but he was toast. When we finished up, I did kind of let his friend know, you might want to take him someplace to sober him up, because he's... yeah, that's why we didn't let them on Rhino Rally. Over at Disney, the two main places I had to deal with them was Disney MGM Studios and Epcot. MGM Studios, because I was a photographer, I didn't have to deal with them so much. Occasionally when they were getting pictures on Hollywood Boulevard or by Tower Terror, you would occasionally get it there. And usually it was somebody that was having a hard time following directions. Okay, everybody get together, stand there and smile. And they're kind of off to the side, not quite sure how to stand. The sad thing was you would see them in family fights and arguments. and you could tell that the only reason they were fighting was because somebody had had too much to drink. Sometimes it was because the family said such, but you could also get to the point where you recognized it. That sucked when you saw a family vacation ruined because somebody had to have their drinks. Yeah, I watched one family that as I was taking their picture on Hollywood Boulevard, the guy, I don't know if he was dad, uncle, what, but one of the guys just started, I don't want to take this stupid picture. Why am I sitting here for a stupid picture? This is just out of nowhere. And everybody else is kind of looking at him like, what's wrong with you? And he says, I need another drink. I'm going to go find a drink. And just ruined the picture. I mean, literally, I snapped the picture as he pops because it was just out of nowhere. And he goes storming off, and the family is just standing there like, what do we do? And one of the ladies said, I'm sorry, it's the alcohol. I felt so bad for him, so bad, because this whole family was so excited and that. I kind of was like, it is Disney. If you're staying on property, you could just go do your own thing and leave him alone, but I don't know what they did. But for the most part, I didn't really have to deal with them at studios. The attraction CMs and the merchandise CMs and the custodial CMs, they all had to deal with it a lot more than I did. I kind of felt bad for them sometimes. But when you did see them, it really illustrated why, if you were going to visit the characters, that food and drinks weren't allowed near them because of the tendency to spill. Yes, young children would do it, but so did people, and especially if they had a cup of alcohol, you didn't want that spilled on one of the characters. It really isn't going to be good if Daisy and Minnie are smelling like spilled beer. Not a thing you want. And generally, they didn't come see the characters, but I remember this one time at studios, it was a couple. They came to visit Donald. Both of them had obviously been having a little bit too much, and they were both a little bit on the tipsy side, and they were giggling over everything, and, oh, look, it's a wall. Have you ever seen a wall before? They're just... Thankfully, they were the fun drunks, but they were definitely a little bit out of it. And so when it came time for them to take pictures with Donald, they both got on either side, and you could see both of them start to kind of waver a little bit. Donald kind of grabs hold and holds them both upright and still so we can get the picture. Yeah. Hey, folks, great picture. Thank you, Donald. There's a bench outside you might want to sit on for just a little bit. I always kind of wondered what they thought of those pictures later when they got home and saw the way that Donald was propping them up. Donald laughed about it later. It was like, yeah, what do you do? So those were the ones that we thought were pretty funny. But with all of the drinking, Epcot was the worst. Epcot was a place that I loved to visit, I loved to work at. I didn't like to be there the last couple hours of the day many times, especially around the World Showcase. Because Epcot has this thing where every different country pavilion has its own national booze and liquor, whatever it may be. And drinking around the world is a thing. Not only a thing that's become popular outside, but Disney has begun to promote it and even putting shirts out and stuff, which really bothers me because by the end of the day, you would have a good number of people at Epcot that were completely sloshed out of their mind. If they made it all the way around, usually they were toast before that. You'd find people laying on benches. You'd find people, well, let's just say, there were far more people at Epcot that were worshiping the porcelain god than probably would have liked and probably don't remember it. Now, again, they're just a small portion of the crowd. I don't want you to think it's everybody getting drunk everywhere. It's not that. But there were enough that it became noticeable, and that's where the issue was. I had a couple times I had to point people to bushes, because you'd see them. There's a bush. Let me get you over there. And calling custodial. There were a couple times you'd have to block off an area for a protein spill. Oh, hey, folks, trust me, you don't want to walk through here. It's not very magical. And wait till they could come clean it up. People trying to sleep it off. The drinking around the world thing, honestly, is probably the bit that bothers me the most because it promotes people getting drunk to the point that they become issues and problems and don't remember. Have a drink or two if you want, that's fine, have fun, but when you're getting drunk at a park, there's a problem. And we'd see it, arguments, fights, spills, scenes. I had one time that I watched a guy at Epcot argue with a pole because he was walking along staggering, couldn't keep himself straight, walked right into one of the light posts, I think it was, just bang, steps back and starts cussing the light pole out. You shouldn't have gotten away, you stupid You know, dude, if you were sober, you wouldn't do that. And there's a part of you that wants to laugh, but having dealt with alcohol issues myself, it's also heartbreaking when you see it and frustrating. It's just, and then you would run into instances like this one time. I had 5 ladies that all wanted their picture, all in their 20s. I don't remember ages real well, but what I do remember was they were all dressed in skirts that were above the knees. They all wanted to get pictures, and they all wanted to sit on this bench out of the way. And you could tell they had been enjoying themselves and enjoying the drink, and you could smell it on them, okay? They want to get this picture. All right, well, let me try and get a couple pictures of you, and we'll get you all lined up. And let's just say that ladies, when they've been drinking a bit, either don't remember how to sit or have issues with knowing when to sit properly in front of guys. There was actually one point in this Giggle Fest, I was like, ladies, I am a happily married man. Can we sit, everybody, turn your legs the right way. And finally, after several tries of getting these ladies to sit appropriately on a bench so I could get a picture, I was like, you know what, ladies, let's just stand up because we're not going to make this bench work. They're giggling and other stuff, and I'm kind of going, there's a point where this isn't funny, and that's not a picture you're going to want later, and it's not a picture I want to be taking. And it was just like, really? This is not what you want at Disney. It really isn't. Now, a park like Silver Dollar City, we didn't have it anywhere near as often because it wasn't allowed in the park. There was no alcohol sales. You weren't supposed to bring it in, but that doesn't mean that people didn't occasionally sneak it in. We didn't see it often, but when we did, we had one guy that fell asleep on the bench in the train station. And he'd brought in his drink and he'd poured it into a cup in the park. And when he fell asleep, he apparently had been sitting holding the cup. And he kind of went over this way and the cup went that way. And I mean, it spilled all over himself. His hidden stash wasn't so hidden anymore. I don't know what it was, but it reeked. It was terrible. We actually had to close off the depot for just a little bit to clean it up and air it out, even though it's an open air, because it was so bad. Not just that, we had to summon him a little bit of help to get him back out of the depot. I believe they took him up to first aid, and I don't know if he ended up getting some help home or what happened there, but his day was done, and it was mid-afternoon. A little early for that kind of stuff. And that was really the one time I really remember it at Silver Dollar City. Just that smell. Oh, that smell. It was bad. It was bad. So this is why I struggle with alcohol sales at the parks. Again, I understand them, but the stuff you have to deal with because of those who can't figure it out. Either or, money wins. That's how it works. Money always wins. Have you had issues with that? Are you on the other side and you're kind of like, yes, but it makes it more fun and interesting? I'd love to hear your comments, your views, your experiences. Please share them in the comments below. Let me know what you think. I really would love to hear it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Share the video with your friends, family, neighbors, social media. I would really appreciate it, and it'd help me reach my goal of 30,000 subscribers. We hit 30,000, I've got contests and prizes and all sorts of stuff. So let's get to 30,000. Thank you so much for subscribing as well, if you haven't, and helping us to reach that goal. I also want to give a huge shout out to my patrons, my YouTube members. Their financial support helps me do so much, and there's benefits that come with it. Please be sure to check that description for information about that and so much more. Thank you so incredibly much for watching. God bless. I can't see that stupid thing. Come on. Oh. Trying to read a script from a distance. Over time, it's not Silver Dollar City there. But it did give... I do, however, remember one time with Donald over at Studios, where this one... Actually, no, it was both. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know about contact information, fan pages, merchandise, and more, please be sure to check the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know when I have new ones, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button right up there. And if you want to see another one of my videos, well, I've got a great one for you right here. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people here who support me on Patreon and with YouTube memberships. They get behind-the-scenes information, special perks, and more. If you'd like to know more about that, well, make sure you check that button right there. Thank you so much.